2018 was one hell of a year, full of ups and downs, demonetization, the Paul brothers, Fortnite, and Will Smith.
Yeah. That's hot.
But this is it, people. It's 2019, the last year of the decade, and we've decided to start it off right. We make a lot of videos. Last year, we managed to pull 70 videos out of our butts and into your eyes and ears. 70 videos. That's a lot of opportunities for comments. And out of all the comments, you guys have asked for two things. One, we already did, which was Danganronpa. And now, I present to you possibly the most requested video on this channel. JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. But what is a JoJo? Why is their adventure so bizarre? Why is there so much meme? Why are so muscly such beautiful men? The posing! What does it all mean?
Oh, I'm so close to solving this crime, I can almost taste it.
Well, boys and girls and in-betweens, I think I have the answer. Oh no! It's taken some time. This anime/manga/snack brand/movie/book is no piece of low-fat cheesecake. No, it is full fat cheesecake with fatty fat cheese on top. Join me, won't you? As we dive JoJo first into a JoJo-filled JoJo with extra JoJo for a video about JoJo's. This is not to be taken lightly, so prepare yourself. For an epic that spans generations. For an aura in the groin of your imagination. For the tale of JoJo's across time and their endless battle with the forces of evil. For a life lesson you never would have imagined came from a cartoon about incredibly muscular men with magical powers. This is the story of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. The story you never knew. Whoa! What was that intro? It was so fresh and so clean. Fools! I know exactly what that intro was. We made it ourselves. After I was released from David Crane, producer of the hit 90s sitcom Friends, and got my booty hole sewn back up, we here at Treesicle started thinking. We all like anime, but it doesn't always have a spot here on Treesicle.
Son of a bitch!
So we made a second channel. It's called Bonsai Pop, and it's live right now with 2 brand new videos. A story you never knew on Cowboy Bebop, and a fresh new super dope video on ReZero. That's right, Bonsai Pop is all anime all the time, and it's where we will put our anime content from this day forward. We're talking weekly releases, people! Every Saturday or more. That means Story You Never Knew's on anime all the time. It means new shows on anime all the time. It means anime all the doggam time. How's that for full fat cheesecake? So check out Bonsai Pop and make sure to comment, subscribe, and hit the cute little bell that YouTube makes us talk about each time we mention subscribe. We can't wait to see you over there. Now back to the JoJo. It took us a long time to get here. JoJo's Bizarre Adventure is, well, huge. Not just in volume, but in sales and history and also body mass. Look at these boys! One does not simply condense JoJo into a 15-minute video lightly, but let's get some context for the contextually inept. Listen up, sheeple! JoJo's Bizarre Adventure began in 1987 on Weekly Shonen Jump and has continued through multiple magazines and onto anime over the course of 32 years. 32 years this story has been going, and it's not done. Written and illustrated by Hirohiko Araki, the JoJo manga has sold over 100 million copies, landing it on the list of top 15 manga series of all time in sales. I'm going to be specifically talking about the newest anime, which started in 2012 and is still ongoing for the record. But let me tell you, I've watched a lot of anime, especially a lot of shonen anime. But JoJo is weird. It's good. It's very good. Particularly the art direction and the music, but oh boy is it out there. Not FLCL out there, but out there nonetheless. So what's it all about? What is it that makes JoJo able to Jo into our hearts and stay there for longer than I've been alive? Good question. Oh, by the way, there's spoilers from here on out, so watch out. 3, 2, 1, let's boogie. The plot revolves around not one person, but an entire family throughout multiple generations. The Joestars. They are the JoJos. JoJo's. The story begins in late 1800s England. George Joestar, or JoJo, was a wealthy man with a life debt. In order to fulfill his debts, he adopts one Dio Brando as a second son to his first, Jonathan Joestar, or JoJo for short, who just wants to be a gentleman, but Dio is all about inheriting the Joestar fortune and basically ruins Jonathan's life to try and get it. Oh, also there's this stone mask that belonged to Jonathan's dead mother that just happens to turn you into a vampire when you get blood on it. Yeah, Dio found that. And he used it to become a badass, sexy vampire dude. That's right. JoJo's Bizarre Adventure is a vampire story. Move over, Twilight! You thought you had sparkles down? Look at this shit! Who would have seen that coming? So you got adopted Dio trying to steal the Joestar fortune, so he poisons George. On his way to find an antidote, Jonathan meets Robert EO Speedwagon, whom the young JoJo kicks in the face so hard he turned into a good guy forever. He even eventually sets up a foundation helping future JoJos. Dio also wants to kill Jonathan, but instead, Papa George Joestar gets knifed in an altercation. Then Dio uses George's blood to activate the vampire mask. Thankfully, after fighting with Dio, Jonathan meets a dude named Zepelli, who teaches him the way of Hamon, a fighting style that basically produces sunlight so he can inevitably kill vampire Dio. That's funny, by the way. Dio, like Ronnie James Dio, Zepelli, Led Zeppelin, Robert EO Speedwagon, REO Speedwagon. I see you, Hidohiko Araki. I see you. Anyway, Jonathan and Dio do the fighting, and JoJo wins. Zepelli is killed, but so is Dio. Speedwagon destroys the vampire mask, and the day is saved. Until JoJo and his wife go on a ship to their honeymoon and find out Dio wasn't really dead, but had removed his head before his body was destroyed by JoJo's Hamon, and intends to implant himself on JoJo's body, because that's a totally reasonable thing to attempt. More fighting is did, and JoJo sinks the ship along with himself and Dio. Only his wife and their son survive. Woo! So let's think about this for a second. George Joestar started with a life debt, took in a child, and inevitably gets killed for his debt. His son is left to pick up the pieces. Jonathan then falls into the same fate as his father in order to fix the mistakes George left with him. Pretty serious underlying plot for such a pose-happy anime, huh? Well, it gets even deeper than that once you put all the seasons together. The second arc of Season 1 is where we begin to see how the rest of the story plays out. Which is kind of an empty sentence, but we move on. New York, 1938. Jonathan's grandson Joseph attempts to rescue the now oil tycoon Robert EO Speedwagon from Nazis after he discovered the Pillar Men in Mexico, which are ancient super beings who created the vampire mask. He is exceptionally gifted with Hamon, passed down from his deceased grandfather. This is easily my favorite season of the show. The fights are awesome. Joseph Joestar is my favorite JoJo, and I love the whole deal with Lisa, his Hamon teacher, but I don't want to spoil more than I have to. Watch the show, you weebs! Season 2 takes place in 1987 when old Joseph goes to Japan to visit his grandson Jotaro Kujo in jail. He's hospitalized for dudes but won't come out of his cell because he thinks he's possessed by a demon. Turns out it's just his stand. Not like a fruit stand or a fruity stand. Yeah, no more Hamon. It stands now, bienches! A little out of nowhere, but nonetheless interesting, a stand is a manifestation of a character's will, mental energy, or fighting spirit. They vary in appearance and power, but basically it's like a fighting ghost tied to your spirit. Lots of people got him now, including Dio, because Dio's back! In Stardust Crusaders, the stands are named after the ancient Egyptian major arcana of the tarot cards. Like Persona, but with more muscles and JoJo's. And maybe this is where you thought I was going with all of this, a breakdown of stands, what they mean, why they exist, how they went from ancient Egyptian crap to rock gods. But you're wrong! Haha! Wake up, sheeple! This is Treesicle, or Bonsai Pop, I don't know, this one's a bit of a gray area, but whatever, we do things our way here, so prepare to get brain wrecked! Japanese BAM! If you want that hot brain injection explaining stands, I recommend checking out Bonsai Pop, cause that's where it'll be. do that. Now back to the point. From here until the timeline splits in the Steel Ball Run arc, there is a cyclical pattern to each season or story of the Joestars. After Jotaro Kujo's story, he takes the place of his grandfather Joseph in Josuke's story, Diamond is Unbreakable. Josuke is the illegitimate son of Joseph and Jotaro's half-brother, also gifted with a stand. Together, they unravel a mystery about stand users being created and murderous stand users. And the season after that follows Dio's son as a wannabe benevolent mob boss. However, behind all the glamorous, muscle-bound, posing magical boys, we can't forget how much pain and suffering each JoJo generation goes through. George lost his wife, fell into debt to Dario, and was stabbed by his adopted son. Jonathan, whose father was murdered, lost his teacher, was betrayed by his adopted brother, and had to sacrifice his life for his wife and child. Joseph, who lost his teachers. Jotaro was haunted by his stand and lost most of his friends in his battle against Dio. All the JoJos suffered great loss and sacrificed themselves to the struggle of good versus evil. But why? What convinces the JoJos that they have to do this? As the story progresses forward, there are multiple other people with power that could intervene in these semi-apocalyptic scenarios. Often when watching content like JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, we take for granted the struggles the characters go through. They're just heroes, that's just what they do. However, there should always be more to it than that. Something compelling that makes heroics make sense. Obviously, JoJo has this, but is it what you think it is? Araki has stated that he wanted JoJo to have a theme of passing on or handing down, and that he believes that people are able to grow by overcoming obstacles through the power of the human spirit and strength, and that is an affirmation that humanity is wonderful. But I think differently. Not entirely, but when I look at JoJo, while I do see heroic people doing heroic deeds heroically, I also see a family that could be considered cursed more than gifted. So while there is a theme of passing things down through time, more importantly, I think JoJo's Bizarre Adventure is an ongoing allegory of the sins of the father. Yep. Each of us is comprised of simply two sets of DNA converged to create a new being. While we're all individuals, there are inevitable and unavoidable similarities between ourselves and our parents. For some of us, this may be a good thing. For others, it may be terrifying. Maybe you're a kid, maybe you're my age, or maybe you're older. But at some point, you will realize how your parents did things, coupled with some of your own choices, of course, made your situation in life what it is. The idea of the sins of the father is that they, the sins, are inherited by the son or daughter. This is physically represented in the star birthmark passed down from JoJo to JoJo. Because of the way it was written, every single thing that happens within the JoJo universe can be traced back to one man and one mistake: George Joestar and his adoption of Dio. George Joestar didn't actually owe Dio's father anything. Dio Brando was actually just trying to rob him. Even slightly knowing this, George took in Dario's son and ignored his bad behavior.
You kicked my dog today.
Dog?
Dog! You don't ask dumb question.
The man was a fool, and he paid for this mistake with his life. But his son inherited that mistake, and also paid the consequences. Each JoJo makes mistakes, and each of these mistakes makes life more difficult for the next JoJo. Even my boy Joseph was a man skank and got some Japanese lady knocked up on the sly, and then his illegitimate son got caught up in this whole stand mess he is unavoidably biologically tied to. In the world we live in, we're all born at an invisible starting line in the game of life. For some of us, that starting line is miles ahead of the rest. How much money your family has, how much money your family has always had.
You're a rich white male.
Harry.
Where you're from, what you look like, your physical and mental inborn abilities are all factors in where you start the race. Many are caught in the middle, but for those who start far behind, it takes superhuman effort to catch up. Sometimes it's impossible, but for those who are ahead from the start, it will always be easier to live and to succeed than for those who are starting in the back of the pack. These starting lines aren't up to the individual. They're a product of hundreds, if not thousands of years layers of lineage. Society has existed for a long time, allowing certain families, be them hardworking or extremely lucky, to rise to the top. To accumulate money and power. Money and power can be nourished and expanded across generations. Ever heard of the phrase, money makes money? That didn't come from nowhere. It's much easier to make a fortune grow than to accumulate one from scratch. But the opposite is also true. If a family line is down on their luck, makes continuous mistakes, commits crimes, gambles, has addiction issues, the likelihood of future generations succeeding drops significantly. According to a study by Sitsky-Bessemer at UC Berkeley, with a data pool of 3.4 million kids, she found children with parents in jail are 2.4 times more likely to go to jail themselves. This reality is something we all deal with or benefit from every day without even noticing it. Tangible things like items, money, vampire masks in Jonathan's case, as well as the intangible abilities, personalities, culture, ideas. Our parents in a very real way shape how our life's path might progress through our own faults and failures. JoJo's Bizarre Adventure is this idea on steroids. Talent, looks, opportunities, things that completely affect our everyday lives are not chosen, but given at birth based on our parents. We have no say. You have no say. And yet, you must live with them for your entire life. This is the entire story of all JoJo's. But just because you have no say on where you will start doesn't mean you don't have a say in where you will end up. This just means you have more hurdles to jump to achieve your goals. In JoJo's case, as with our own, his starting line comes down to his family. The Sins of the Father. Underneath a bright and colorful, muscle-bound rock and roll anime is a story of a family irreversibly caught up in a war due to the mistakes of one man. Mistakes that ripple through time and infect future generations of his family. Mistakes that led to the deaths of loved ones and friends in a never-ending battle to right past wrongs once and for all. But after 32 years with no end in sight, can we say the Joestars will ever truly be free of their curse? Truly free of the mistakes of George Joestar? Probably not. That's the story of a family forever doomed to fight the good fight and pose like supermodels and talk about what's going on in a fight like we can't see it. The story of a bloodline soaked in mistakes, of the sins of the father. That's the story of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. The story you never knew. And that's my take on JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. Like I said, this is possibly the most requested video we've ever had. What did you think? But do you know what the second most requested thing is? To make more anime content. I can't say it enough. Bonsai Pop is gonna have new content every Saturday morning, Pacific time, and more! We're ridiculously excited to share this new channel with you guys, so click right here to check out A Story You Never Knew on Spike from Cowboy Bebop. There's so many interesting things to say. This is a new age for the Treesicle Team, and we'd love if you were a part of it. I'm Grant. That's all I've got for today, and I'll see you over at Bonsai Pop. Bye!